I know what you're thinking. Why would Niall drive all the way to his local enterprise rent-a-car and pick up a vehicle such as this when he has access to the entire press fleet allotted to him here in Montreal? Well, you're wrong, actually. This 2018 Chevrolet Impala Premier is on the press fleet. I was really impressed because I always thought they had made these into fleet exclusive, but it was really only for a couple of years. So we're going to be looking at the full-size flagship vehicle, if you could call it that, from Chevrolet. It differs slightly from the Buick LaCrosse that we featured a little while ago because there is some small differences with this. So we're going to be taking it on a drive, going over all the features and showing you everything about it. But we're really going to be seeing, is there still a market for a front-wheel drive only full-size American sedan such as this? And if there is, should you buy it? Now, I know there really isn't much to get too excited about a vehicle that used to be used as police cars here in North America. And to be fair, I always thought the Impala was actually a compact car because you take a look at some of the 8th generation Impalas that they really used a lot out here as police cars. They really felt really small, especially compared to this. Now, there isn't anything overly surprising, and this car really makes sense for GM to have multiple brands because something like the Buick LaCrosse is going to have a little bit more when it comes to features. But really, the only thing to note up front is this does have the sport package, so you have the black bow tie up front. If you did not go for that package, you could get adaptive cruise control. So you really can get all the features that you want with this, which is certainly a plus in my books. Aside from that though, I do like this black with the sport front appearance on it. The darker rims give it a cool look. And I know that there's not much cool about a full-size car, but I really do like the look of it. Actually, really enjoying the look of it. There's a lot that you can like about a design like this. Even though it isn't overly liberal, it's a very conservative look. It's pretty cool. Now let's take a look around back here, because there, again, isn't like a whole lot to surprise. You have a little spoiler along the back. Again, black bow tie badge, and the Impala badging. It's pretty straightforward. Trunk size, though, is pretty amazing. It's one of the reasons why this is considered a full-size vehicle. If you take a look to figure out how they classify something like a full-size sedan versus a mid-size, it comes down to trunk size and occupant space. So the total amount of basically liters that you could fit in the trunk and passenger area is big enough that this is a full-size vehicle. And in fact, despite it only having a 111-inch wheelbase, which is actually pretty short for a sedan, the overall length of this is 201 inches, the same as the current generation short wheelbase BMW 7 Series. Now let's hop in, because even though this isn't meant to be a luxurious car, the interior does have quite a bit of luxuries to keep you pretty comfortable during the winter, summer, or just all the time. We've had quite a range of temperatures here today. It's 4 degrees in the morning, and it's currently 15 degrees now, so I'm a little warmer than I was expecting to be doing this video, but it gives us a good opportunity to show you the different ranges of how this car works, including the heated seats and ventilated seats up front. But when it comes to this vehicle being a full-size vehicle, it does offer quite a bit considering its $46,000 price point. It's around $6,000 more than the fully loaded models of all the mid-size consumer segment vehicles we've done so far this year. But what that means is you lose a little bit. You don't quite get all the features. There's rear parking sensors on this car, but not on the front. There's no power folding mirrors. As I mentioned, there's no active cruise control with this car, but you can option it if you don't get the sport package, which this one has. You also don't get things like a 360-degree camera, so it really does require you to move up to something like the Buick LaCrosse if you want a vehicle that has a little bit more to it, especially if you want all-wheel drive. This is only front wheel. What I do like about this, aside from the fact you, as mentioned, have front heated seats and ventilated seats, you have a heated steering wheel, a decent navigation system. We've talked about GMs before. It's all right. Your front dual zone climate control, and the rest of the interior is pretty much all leather. The door cards here along the top and the sides are soft leather. Even the top of this instrument cluster here, the rest of the dashboard is all really nice, soft material. There's no wood, but they do have a piano black finish along with this interesting design along the center. And I have to say that it really is put together well. Everything lines up properly. There are no issues with the interior. I've found no rattles with this vehicle. It really is put together well. If there's anything to complain about with the interior, would be the steering wheel. I think they pulled it off one of their express vans or something. Like, this is not a good looking steering wheel. But what can you do, right? It's not sporty. It's not super gorgeous, and it really is just bulky. But I mean, that'd be my only complaint about the interior here. Maybe put a black headliner too, especially for the sport model. and you're in business. But space here is great. I'm comfortable up here. I have tons of travel for the front seat here. I can move myself back, move myself forward. I'm in a great position. Backseat passenger space is excellent as well. You don't get all the luxuries back there, but you do have enough really to keep you occupied. If you have a family of 4, you don't want an SUV, maybe you live somewhere where it's not required to have all-wheel drive, if you're not living in Quebec or Ontario. So if you're living in maybe California, then a car like this would be great. You don't have to worry about it. But I really do like the space. I really do like the interior here. And you have a little cubby hole where you can open up the navigation screen in the center, and you can hide something. You put your wallet there, even though there is a compartment beside your left leg for your wallet, but you could put whatever you want back there. So I actually do like the interior. It's a lot more impressive than I thought it would be. But now it's time to take the car on a road test to see how this vehicle performs on the road and if it is something worth checking out over an SUV or any other vehicles in, not really the segment, but in the price range. So let's take it on a drive and go over how it feels on the road. Just going to close the panoramic sunroof here. It's something I sometimes forget to do when we're doing a video, and especially on a sunny day like this, sometimes it interferes with the camera, but it is a nice feature to have. I think it works out pretty well on a vehicle like this, especially with the non-black headliner. It is nice to have a little bit of extra light coming in the top there because it is a big vehicle. You do feel a little cavernous if you don't have that open. It doesn't maybe ride as quietly as something like the Buick LaCrosse did, but it really does drive very well. Now, it could probably be improved if they were to use a longer wheelbase car. 111 for a full-size vehicle does sound pretty short, right? Almost all of the vehicle is not between the center wheels here, right? 111 inches with a 201-inch length. I mean, oh my, half of the vehicle is wheelbase and then the other half isn't. We actually drove a different vehicle back to back with this, and it was a sportier car, sportier sedan, and it certainly felt that way on something like the Autoroute 40 that goes through Montreal. It's very rough, and you really felt it. You felt a lot of the road. You felt the car pulling in different directions, going along the grooves and the potholes. Not with this, though. This was just blissfully smooth going along there. I was impressed with it quite a bit. Now, 305 horsepower isn't going to be a lot to blow you away with a car like this, but for its size, it actually isn't bad. And if you think about it, back to my 2001 BMW 7 Series of all vehicles to be talking about, it only had a 282 horsepower engine. So 305 actually is pretty good. It's an older version of GM's high-feature V6 engine, still a 3.6-liter V6, but it just doesn't have the same type of technology that they're using on the V6s in the Buicks. But I'm sure by the 11th generation of the Impala, they'll update to that generation engine as well. But there's nothing wrong with it. So far, we've been driving relatively well. It gets onto the highways with no issue. I have no problems driving it around in streets like this. We've averaged at 9.7 liters, which, I mean, for a full-size car isn't overly bad. It's nothing to really complain about. I wouldn't put it as a dislike as we wrap up this vehicle. It is certainly better than some of the performance-oriented sedans that we've driven, but it is also front-wheel drive, right? So you're losing out on that all-wheel drive, which helps with efficiency, but in this case, it doesn't really do a whole lot, because even something like the Cadillac XT5 that we featured a few weeks ago, it did better. We averaged just down to about 9.3 liters per 100 kilometers, so 9.7. Yeah, no, it's not great. But then again, we also haven't really driven it. We certainly didn't take it on a long-distance road trip like we did with the Cadillac. But I gotta say, I'm impressed. Road noise is relatively quiet. It's nothing to really write home about, but yeah, it is noticeably better. Not, again, as good as the Buicks that we've driven. But again, there needs to be a reason for GM to say, look, you want to buy a full-size vehicle, you want to get all the features, you can get pretty much all of it with the Impala. But if you do want a little bit more of a refined experience, then you can go up to either the Buick, or you can go up to something like the Cadillac XTS, which is also based on this Epsilon 2 long wheelbase platform. Now, luckily, there is no auto stop start feature on this car, which is one of the complaints that we usually have with GM vehicles, so I'm glad that it's not on this one. But overall, this is actually a really enjoyable car to drive, one that I am beyond surprised, actually, because again, I got this car thinking, hey, it's going to be something different, something I wasn't expecting to drive, but I wasn't thinking too much of it. But at this Premier trim, fully loaded, especially with the Sport Pack, yeah, it's not a bad looking car. It rides pretty well. It's not sporty. I know it has the Sport package, but it's not a sporty vehicle, but I think it looks good. Is it going to appeal to younger buyers? Probably the same way that the original Impalas would have? Not likely. I think that this is still either going to be a vehicle that people are going to be using for fleet, or it's going to be an older demographic of people buying it. I don't see a lot of young people necessarily getting behind the wheel of this. But then again, that's also a growing trend in the automotive world. Anyway, I mean, buyers who are my age aren't really looking at sedans anyway, so you've got that to contend with. But it's a good car and has a CD player, so if you're interested in that, you've still got the CD player.
It's funny how we can make assumptions about something before giving it a fair shot. That's what I did with the Impala. I figured it wouldn't be a car I'd be interested in, so I never paid it any attention. While it isn't the best full-size sedan on the market, it really does have a lot going for it to attract buyers. We found that the ride was smooth and quiet, even on rougher roads. The large interior space is also a plus, despite its short wheelbase. The various storage compartments allow you to hide valuables and load up the trunk with enough luggage for a family of 4. The subtle ambient lighting was also a nice touch, and we really can't fault the leather trim throughout the interior of the car. But there's definitely room for improvement, and if GM wants buyers to look at its full-size sedan offerings for more than just a nameplate and trunk space, they'll need to get serious about the rear seat features, which lacked outboard heated seats or control over the climate. The 6-speed automatic transmission is also a relic by today's standards, and its short wheelbase over the rest of the full-size competition means that the ride, which was great, could be better, and more overall legroom for passengers. Finally, that steering wheel. Oh, it's brutal, taking away from an otherwise very elegant interior design. So the Chevrolet Impala Premier, not the grandpa car everybody expected it to be, but not that mean and gritty cop car of generations past either. It's a car I'm happy to say surprised me, and I hope it does do that for you as well. Thanks for watching this episode of Test Drive Spotlight on the 2018 Chevrolet Impala Premier. It directly competes with the Toyota Avalon, Nissan Maxima, Dodge Charger, and Ford Taurus. So how do you think it compares with those? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to our growing channel to get the latest episode of Test Drive. We publish new episodes every week, and sometimes we publish 2, so get those notifications enabled and never miss out. Until next time, take care.